Alright, here we are. In my opinion, the best way to figure out what happens with the lead arm and what happens with the top hand is to grab a broom. A regular kitchen broom, not a push broom. The added length and the added wind sail of the bristles makes a higher moment of inertia during the swing and a higher inertia effect from the beginning of the swing, so you can feel what happens in slower motion. So here we go. So I can swing this broom to contact two ways. I can swing it by swiveling, and I can swing it by using the swivel and leveraging the pull on the lead arm. So we're going to talk about that first. So here we go. If I keep my top hand closed, my bottom hand open, and all I do is swivel my top hand to contact, trying to reach terminal velocity with the bat, it doesn't have enough power, no matter how hard I try and swing it, to knock the ball out of the infield. But if I grab the bat with my lead hand and I open my top hand and I simply create torque with a lead arm pull and the top hand resisting the forward motion that happens when I do this, and it hits me in the neck because inertia wants to move the whole thing forward. If I just keep my top hand here and I use the functional lead arm properly, pulling that way to move that barrel that way, if you can see, I'm pulling perpendicular to the bat. The lead arm pull. As the bat releases, I'll be pulling more along the axis. But again, pulling just using the lead arm, and the function of my right arm is going to be to stay at my armpit as long as possible so that this can leverage around the pivot point as much as possible. If I move it forward, I don't have any leverage around this pivot point. It has to be a pivot point. That's why I said you don't want to move your right hand. You don't want to push your right hand. But you absolutely want to pull with your left arm. So here we go. This is a right hand open. I'm going to keep it at my armpit and let the bat fly off my top hand. I'm not pushing the bat. I'm just making sure that I create enough tension so that the bat doesn't move in together like this. That's all I'm doing. That's why there's a fork in my hand. Okay? Pull with the left arm perpendicular to the bat to create leverage, to create a whip around the top hand, pivot at the rear shoulder. This ball I can hit probably over an outfielder's head if I wanted to. So there's no doubt in my mind that the swivel adds absolutely zero power to the swing. Zero in terms of minutia amounts of power to the swing. All of the power comes from a pivot point with the top hand and a pull with the bottom hand using leverage around the pivot point. That ball's gone. Okay, so the swivel, it's a good move, but it doesn't add any power. The reason it's a good move is because it creates a pivot point for the barrel to turn around. I got no problem with that. The other thing is, it doesn't happen back here. I don't swivel the bat away from my body behind me. I don't have to. If I keep it here and pull with my left arm, the swivel will turn the barrel from behind me to in front of me as fast as I need it to go. There is no casting out. It's not required unless you're not using your lead arm properly. Richard's drill of the lead arm is not proper. This is not how the bat moves on an angular plane and requires you to tilt. This is a forced tilt. It's not a function of the swing. So again, regarding just the pivot, this arm creates a pivot point, the left arm pulls perpendicular to the handle of the bat, which is why ULL splits their hands. Pull. That's why. They split their hands to pull around the pivot point. You can see here that I'm using my top hand as a pivot, and I'm not trying to push my top hand and throw it at all. The length of this bat, or this broom, and the wind sail really makes it obvious to feel what that feels like when I'm pulling my left hand perpendicular to the bat as long as possible. This is bat speed. This is nothing. So, therein lies the force of the swing, the power of the swing, and what the top hand does. The swivel, I say, is light. I'm not swiveling back here to cast the bat. I'm pulling a pivot point, and when need to be, I'm allowing my top hand to be turned with the bottom hand. Turn it with the bottom hand, but keep it tight facing your body. That's the ideal, in my opinion, top hand motion. Alright, so I'm going to go get what I call now the board member terminal velocity swing trainer.